In this video, we'll talk about your fears and misconceptions regarding the possibility of someone taking away your property in Northern Cyprus. Today, we'll examine this issue in great detail, and I guarantee that after this, you will have no more questions or doubts on this topic. In 1974, Northern Cyprus was effectively divided into two parts: Southern Cyprus, where Greek Cypriots live, and Northern Cyprus, where Turkish Cypriots reside. And so when the Greek Cypriots left the northern part of Cyprus for the south, they left behind their property, their homes, some livestock and their land. And the Turkish Cypriots, when they left the southern part, likewise left their property there. And some buyers are afraid that someday the descendants of some Greek Cypriot will show up, like, I bought land or a house or an apartment today. And then these descendants will appear and say, this is all ours, you need to leave, goodbye, we don't know you. He's back again. Be sure to watch the video until the end. I guarantee that once we break it down point by point, you won't have any more doubts. Real estate transactions in Northern Cyprus are internationally recognized. There is no connection between the recognition or non-recognition of a state and the recognition or non-recognition of any transactions within that state. These are completely different issues that fall under different jurisdictions. Former property owners in Northern Cyprus, Greek Cypriots and their descendants, have no legal or actual means to claim property located in Northern Cyprus. This has been confirmed by a court decision in London as well as by a ruling of the European Court of Human Rights. And even if one day the lawmakers of Southern Cyprus lose their minds and pass some law threatening penalties for those who have purchased property in Northern Cyprus, they still would not be able to enforce that law or any possible court decision here in Northern Cyprus in any way. We must be absolutely clear about this. Third, there is a decision by the European Court of Human Rights, and by the way, Southern Cyprus is part of the European Union and is subject to the decisions of the European Court of Human Rights as the highest judicial authority of the European Union. It is stated in black and white there that the owners, the former owners of real estate in Northern Cyprus, Greeks, Cypriots or their descendants, do not have the right to claim property directly from the new owners. They must apply to the State Immovable Property Commission, and the Commission will review their case. If it determines that the property in question, a plot of land, a house or an apartment, is unoccupied and does not have a new owner, then the Commission will return this property to the former owners. But if this property has already been sold, or if something has already been built on that plot of land, for example an apartment building, and it has already been sold to new owners, then in that case the Commission is required to pay compensation to the former owners. In my opinion, this is a very proper, realistic and effective solution to the issue. Now, I'm going to visit the website of the State Immovable Property Commission. By the way, we're leaving a link to this website in the description and in the pinned comment for this video. It's very simple here. We have just one main page. Look, it says that 7,500 applicants from the southern part have contacted this commission. 1,500 cases have already been resolved, and the Commission has awarded payments totaling more than 420 million British pounds sterling. These payments went to those 1,500 applicants. So this is a truly functioning and effective mechanism. Give this video a like if you agree with that too. I know where these scary stories about the illegality of buying property in Northern Cyprus come from. This is unfair competition from our colleagues, realtors and developers from the southern part of Cyprus. Of course, I completely understand them. Their business is to sell real estate, but people are buying more from us in Northern Cyprus than there in the south, simply because, all else being equal, it's the same island, the same sea, the same sun, the same air. But our real estate prices are significantly lower, and the cost of living here is also noticeably lower. So why pay more? And also, a few weeks ago, similar articles appeared in the press and on the websites of Southern Cyprus, where suddenly, out of nowhere, after 2 decades of real estate being sold here in Northern Cyprus, Greek Cypriots started saying in the media that this is illegal. Why? Because there are negotiations going on about gas. This is huge money. Imagine if this enormous amount of money, for example, goes to Egypt, which also has a gas field here in the Eastern Mediterranean and where 100 million people live. So each of these people won't really feel it in their own pocket. But this enormous amount of money for us, for Northern Cyprus, where less than 400,000 people live, this is very significant. And the Greek Cypriots want to start extraction and sales, and to receive money from the sale of natural gas as soon as possible. But they can't do this without resolving the Cyprus issue. They don't want to negotiate with Turkish Cypriots, they want to negotiate with Turkey. Turkey says, what do we have to do with this? Besides, Turkey does not recognize Southern Cyprus as a state. And so apparently the Greek Cypriots couldn't come up with anything smarter, more interesting or more effective than to blackmail Northern Cyprus with these newspaper articles, which in any case lead to no results. But at the very least we should know what prompted these articles. Plus, whether by coincidence or not, right now the press of both Southern and Northern Cyprus has started to carry out an order from competitors against one of the largest developers in Northern Cyprus, who, for example, built the Caesar Resort, the most famous and largest resort complex here in Northern Cyprus. Also, please don't fall for these rumors or these newspaper articles. This particular developer, no matter how we might feel about them, is in no way different from any other developer in Northern Cyprus when it comes to the legal procedures for registering property. In addition, please remember that the vast majority of real estate in Northern Cyprus belongs to local residents who have lived here since the 16th century. They don't have another home. Their home is Northern Cyprus. They have nowhere else to go. They live here in these properties. And even the idea that these people should move out and leave the island simply doesn't exist. And as for foreigners, there's absolutely no reason to touch them at all, simply because they are an overwhelming minority here. Open up Google Maps and just take a look at what Northern Cyprus is. You'll see that almost the entire territory is undeveloped. It's just land. It doesn't belong to foreigners, it belongs to the local residents. And as for what is developed, in any case, 90% of it still belongs to the locals. And if we can't satisfy, for example, 100 Greek Cypriots whose ancestors once lost property here, if we can't meet the demands of 95 out of 100, what's the point of bothering with the remaining 5 if it won't solve the issue anyway? Give this a like if you agree with me. And one last thing, let's not forget that there is no practical way to simply evict nearly 400,000 people from their homes. People who, according to statements from our government, currently live here in Northern Cyprus, not counting any visiting tourists. At the same time, the decisions of the courts of Southern Cyprus have no power here, and the law enforcement agencies of Northern Cyprus protect us and our rights, which are absolutely legal under the current laws of the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. That's why owning property in Northern Cyprus is completely safe and legal. If there had been even a single case where anyone, local or foreigner, lost even a penny here because of this, we would have already read about it on the internet. The propaganda from our colleagues, realtors and developers from Southern Cyprus would have blown that one case out of proportion and spread it all over the internet. Dear viewers, if you are interested in Northern Cyprus or in real estate in Northern Cyprus, please follow the link in the description and in the pinned comment below this video for a free consultation. Our staff will provide you with a free and prompt consultation, advise you on which properties are ideally suited to your preferences, and even before you arrive in Cyprus, you'll have an idea of what we have, how much it costs, and be able to determine how much you really need it.